What is up, YouTube? Welcome back, guys. Sorry for being a couple days late on the video, but we're back with flying, the second to last type. Normal is going to finish us off, and this is going to be a somewhat longer one. Not as long as water, but I can't just kind of blow through everybody like I did with water, because a lot of these flying types are a lot different than water was easy because there's like the criteria, like you have the swift swim Pokemon, defensive ones. Flying's got a lot more variety to it, which is why I like doing flying. Monologue's probably the most for like first time through a game and stuff, but we got a lot to get through. Let's go through reverse generational order. For you guys who are new to the series, this is where I go through and rank all the Pokemon that are of a certain type for this video flying, and talking about them in the context of a Nuzlocke. And this could be a Nuzlocke of any game, just whatever game they might appear in, and talk about how good they are going to be for you generally for a playthrough. I've got the tiers. We've got Phoenix tier, which is the tip of the top. Is going to be the best or best few flying types. I wanted to start off by just putting one, but it ends up being a couple. A Pokemon I usually end up in this top, the ultimate top tier, I guess. S tier, A tier, B, C, and we've varied away from the F to make the E tier for egg because it's funny. Let's get into it. Let's go reverse generational order, starting with Legends Arceus, and at the very end of the video, I'll also talk about some of the Scarlet Violet flying types and what I think of them so far. So Braviary in Arceus is... it's okay. Without abilities, you lack damage from like sheer force power and stuff. And I mean, in Arceus Nuzlocke, really the most important thing is like the end game fights, and I just don't think Braviary does great into all of them. And it's just a late game Pokemon, so you kind of need to be good against those. So I'll just throw it in B. I mean, Psychic Flying, it has like good damage output. Esper Wing raises your speed bracket because the combat system in that game is a little weird. So it's a great move. I'm just gonna land it in B. I think that feels comfortable. We talked about Cramorant last week in water. It's way too much of a niche to be put any higher. I mean, water flying is great typing, but it's way too much of a niche to be put any higher than the C tier. Corviknight, though, is easily going S tier. Steel flying is fantastic. It's a great defensive pivot. It can still do damage. It gets a lot of like setup moves too, like bulk up and iron defense and body press is introduced in this generation, so you can easily iron defense, body press, and roost. And you got tailwind. There's a lot of different things you can do. A lot of different. It could be like a setup bulky sweeper in a sense. It could just be purely supportive. Fantastic typing. Easily going S tier. Meteor's a fun one. It's kind of a gimmicky it's a very gimmicky Pokemon, but it can really pop off. Once it gets to half HP, it switches. So it starts as a bulky Pokemon. Once it gets to half HP, it switches over, becomes very fast and very offensive, but frail. It also gets Shell Smash, so you can kind of just set up with it, be defensive at the beginning, set up, do whatever, and then once you get hit to half HP, go crazy with like acrobatics and run like a citrus berry or something. I don't think you go back. I can't remember if you go back or not, so someone's have to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you go back into the shell form. I think it's just once you get to half HP, it breaks and you switch to the other mode. So you can run a citrus berry, heal yourself back up, and just go crazy with like acrobatics and like rock slide and stuff. So it can kind of go funny. It's a goofy sweeper. The Oricorio forms, I have the Fire and Psychic one in C, and the Ghost and Electric in B, purely just typing. It's pure just typing. Electric flying is great, Ghost flying is pretty good, Fire flying is alright, Psychic flying is okay. Honestly, the Electric flying is the only one that deserves to be B tier, because that typing is super good. These Pokemon are just kind of middling. That's all they really are. They're middling flying types. Toucannon, I think, is really cool. It's got okay bulk. You guys usually yell at me when I say bulky, and it's like 80, 80, 80, 80, 70, 70. But that's not bad bulk. It's a moderate tank hitter, moderate hit taker, with Skill Link, very high attack. 120 attack Skill Link is awesome. Beak Burn, or Beak Blast, whatever that move is called. That can burn when you go physical is great. It makes you move last, but you're already so slow, it doesn't really matter that much. So it's a cool, deal a lot of damage Pokemon you're gonna get early on, and just like Skill Link is always good. I mean, Skill Link 120 attack is always good. You get Rock Blast early, you get Bullet Seed not too late. So it's a great Pokemon. Noivern is a dragon. Noivern is a pretty early dragon, and those are always good. Those are always good. It's also super fast. It gets stuff like Boom Burst and like Infiltrator, so it can hit through. I mean, I guess Infiltrator doesn't matter that much. Ability-wise, it's not the biggest deal, but it's really fast and it has some good special attacks. And it's just an early dragon, and those are always useful. Maybe I could argue B tier, I guess. Because it isn't Kalos, and Kalos just gives you everything. And then like games after that, it's kind of power creeps. I guess I'll leave it in B tier. Hawlucha's typing is super fun. Flying Fighting, I think alone just puts it A tier. It's really fast. It's not like super strong, but you have things like Swords Dance it can learn. Flying Press is funny because you have just dual stab on one move. It's a nice offensive Pokemon. The typing is super useful, and stat wise, ability wise, things like Unburden could be really good. I think it's just a solid Pokemon. It kind of just goes crazy with like Unburden, Acrobatics, and then like High Jump Kick or Flying Press or something, and you like Swords Dance. Vivillon is kind of just every other bug flying, and they're not good comparatively. Like if I'm talking about bug type tier list, sure, that might be okay because it gets like Quiver Dance and stuff. But I'm talking about flying, and I can't really put most of them above C tier because they all get Quiver Dance. And I had to like think of like what else they can do. Talonflame's kind of it's good, but not great. It's not as strong. It's not as strong as it kind of hopes to be. Gale Wings is really cool, but it's already so fast. Like outside of like Gale Wings is really cool in a competitive sense, or I think it's just Flame Body because Gale Wings is a hit ability. So in a normal playthrough, you're just really fast. You have an okay attack stat. I mean, it's a fire type. It's a really fast fire type, which is cool. It just doesn't do as much damage as I wanted to, so I don't know if I can really put it higher than like B tier. B tier, A tier. You're probably going to end up using it a lot in like a Gen 6 Nuzlocke though, just because you get it early and it's an early fire type, which is great. Mandibuzz and Braviary are late evolutions, but they're both really good. And honestly, in a lot of games after Gen 5, the level caps go up really high into the 60s, so you actually have them for longer. And they're both just really solid. Mandibuzz is an amazing defensive Pokemon. It's got really good... Dark Flying is really good defensive typing. And you got things like Tailwind, you can use like Foul Play, Snarl, you can just be a crazy wall. And Braviary is really strong offensively, and it even has Defiant, which is kind of niche for Nuzlocke. It's not all... I mean, I guess a lot of the AI will usually try to lower your stats, so Defiant's really cool. In that case, you could just kind of blow up and start going crazy offensively. Emolga probably goes in the A tier too, just for being an early electric flying type, which is really cool. I mean, you're fast, Volt Switch pivoting is always great. You've got like Acrobatics for early damage. It's gonna get out damage later on, but the early game is just really... Electric flying is just always good. It's just such fantastic typing. Swanna is a pretty okay sweeper, like water flying sweeper. You're gonna have good stab with like Air Slash, Surf, Ice Beam, and like Roost, I guess, or something. It's kind of like all reliable. Swanna's like a perfect all reliable Pokemon, which feels just exactly B tier to me. Archeops is an S tier Pokemon. Once it goes below half HP, it sucks, but this thing is just a sweeper through and through, and it's kind of too frail and doesn't have good defensive typing, so once it's below half HP, you want to switch anyways because you're in crit range or so. So until then, it's just like an opener. It's fast, it's very strong. This thing is such a crazy high attack stat. And it's just like the downside of Defeatist, just switch out at that point. You kind of want to switch out at that point anyways. You can't bring it back in, so it's like a little annoying, but still, the opening damage potential, I mean, you could just like sweep the things. It doesn't even have to get hit because it's just so strong, it might just kill everything before it ever takes a hit. Sigilyph is Sigilyph is another like painfully average Pokemon. It has like cool support things it can do. It's just outclassed in every way, shape, or form. It's like cool member of the party for a little bit, and then it's gonna get replaced, which is the B tier. Swoobat is, I think, just C. Without Simple, let me double check. Is Simple a hidden ability? If it's not a hidden ability, I'm willing to put this thing in like S tier because it can actually go crazy. But if not, then this thing is doo-doo. It is a hidden ability, so it is doo-doo. It's just super lackluster. Unfezant is a really cool defensive early game flying type with things like really early Roost, really early Feather Dance. You also have like Super Luck Air Cutter, and you can basically always crit, even though it's not a lot of damage for, or not a high special attack stat. It's still good early game damage when you're like, you know, 60 at the beginning of the game is fine. It's fine, you know. So damage is still there. I think just the defensive potential there, like even just keeping it as a, not Unfezant, but the second evolution, I can't remember the name of, keeping it there with like an Eviolite with like, yeah, like Feather Dance Roost is really nice. And it gets like Taunt really early too. It's really, really cool defensive Pokemon. I see a lot of use for it. Gliscor is a monster. Ground Flying is fantastic typing. This is probably the best setup Pokemon, I think, in Nuzlocke. With like Swords Dance, teaches Substitute, it gets Roost, funny enough, and you just like stab Earthquake. It doesn't learn, it's kind of a TM absorber, but like it's so worth it. The payoff is so worth it. Hyper Cutter means you don't get intimidated. You can have like Poison Heal for healing. That might also be a hidden ability. But even then, just Hyper Cutter alone is fine. You don't get your stats lowered. You don't get, you know, Rock Tomb doesn't lower your speed. Intimidate doesn't lower your attack, so you can just set up a Swords Dance and just clean sweep through everything. So unless you're like banning TMs, this Pokemon gets like ever so slightly worse, I guess. Like banning or like buying TMs or something. But you're always gonna have an Earthquake TM, so easily S tier. Yanmega is a late game like choice spec sweeper. It can get speed boost, which is hilarious for the Pokemon with this crazy special attack stat. It just doesn't learn moves till super late, which is why it's kind of being balanced into the A tier, but it still just pops off later on. And like, if you're playing like a Sinnoh playthrough, give this thing the choice specs. Give it like Air Slash, Bug Buzz, Ancient Power, some other hidden power, or can work, some other kind of coverage. Give it a choice specs and speed boost. And if it's not speed boost, it's like Tinted Lens or Compound. I think it's Compound Eyes, so you just have more accuracy, so you can still just keep clicking your stab moves without any worry. Togekiss, easily S tier, even before it becomes a flying type or fairy type. It's stupid bulky, learns every single move imaginable pretty much. It gets support moves with like Tailwind, and when it learns Tailwind, it still has things like Thunder Wave. It's a crazy setup sweeper. It has like extreme speed and stuff for no. It literally just has every move for like no reason. It's easily S tier. Once you get this, and you get Togepi for free in a couple games, so it's like also just a free win, basically. Like when I play Platinum and I get the Togepi, it's just like, all right, this runs over. So I already won. Chatot is funny. Chatot's a fun one. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would when I did a flying Nuzlocke. Or not a flying, I was using I was doing a draft Nuzlocke of Platinum, and I added Chatot. And I actually used it for a long time because special attacking flying type is fun. It's more fun and better than you might think it is. But it's like still C tier. Let's be honest. It's not gonna last on the team for very long. It's just funny. I love this Pokemon. It's a little music parrot. How can you not love it? Honchkrow is like stab, Swords Dance, Sucker Punch, kind of like all you really do with that. But that can be good. It could be good against some. You kind of have to do your research before you just like commit to clicking Sucker Punch over and over again. But like, if you're doing a Nuzlocke, you probably should not play blind. And even then, it's still just still just a good offensive Pokemon. It has high attack. Dark is really good physical stab, and then you have like the flying to hit the fighting types that resist you, and the bugs, I guess, that might resist you. And you have Super Luck too, so like Super Luck Night Slash is crazy. You get like Tailwind to boost your own speed. You're slow, which sucks. 71 speed is not great, but 100 HP gives you some bulk to work with, and you're a flying type. You have Roost, just like Tailwind up or Roost up, and just go crazy with like Night Slash, like Super Luck Night Slash and critting everything, or Swords Dance, Sucker Punch or something. Or maybe it doesn't get Swords Dance. Maybe I'm lying about the Swords Dance part, but still, just stab Sucker Punch is fine. Drifblim is a... I'm trying not to have my own bias kind of go against me on this one. because it's a pretty good defensive ghost type, but there's always just better, and it doesn't really off. I feel like there's just always Pokemon that offer more for it. It has stockpile, so it can be like a nice setup tank, but it's also just really frail, so it needs that, and it doesn't really be a tank very well. Its offenses are kind of okay. It has the high HP, I guess. It's just kind of awkward. I don't love it, so I'm gonna throw it in the B tier. Vespa Queen though is one I do very much love. You get this it's really just an early game crazy wall. Bug flying's not amazing, but when you have a way to raise your defenses, a way to heal, a really good heal move, really good stab too from like attack order, and you have cool coverage like power gem and stuff, this thing as an early game wall that just lasts for a long time is super useful. Mothim's going C tier, if not F tier, honestly. I can literally think of every other bug flying type that does something more than Mothim does. Like maybe it gets Quiver Dance too, but they're all faster. Like Vivillon's like faster, so it's going in the E tier. Staraptor, I'm willing to put in the S tier. Intimidate, early Intimidate at that too. You get Intimidate from Staravia, which is great. Plus close combat, plus like U-turn and return or double edge and like Brave Bird or something. Very easy to use moveset. Early Intimidate is just so good. And early Intimidate pivoting, because it can learn U-turn, is also just super awesome. Salamence, another Intimidate flying type. This is more of an endgame Pokemon, but like Salamence is ridiculous. Crazy attack stat, good speed, good bulk because of Intimidate, Dragon Dance sweeps. This is one of the best pseudos I think we've ever seen. For a Nuzlocke. Honestly, no, it's just in general. Salamence is one of the best pseudos we've ever seen. Tropius is a chlorophyll grass type that's also flying, which is fun. Therefore, it goes B tier. It's not the best chlorophyll Pokemon, but it's fun. It's a fun one. Altaria is a early Dragon Dance sweeper, and it's easily. I have to put it A tier. I thought about putting it S tier, honestly. This thing just gets outside of Dragon Dance. It also gets like Cotton Guard later on. And just the early game, early Dragon Dance sweepers are just so good. Because the game is literally not designed to fight you yet. And just all the coverage it gets, it's got good bulk. Very useful Pokemon. It's pretty easy to use. It's easy to use and flexible to use too. I kind of have to apologize for a lot of my old tier lists when it comes to Ninjask. I've kind of been dumping on Ninjask, but it is really good. Speed Boost, Baton Pass, Swords Dance is always just good. That's always good. And then on its own, you can like Swords Dance Sweep. It has some cool coverage moves like Gen 3 Shadow Ball, and like Dig and stuff is good for the early. You're gonna get it early, so you're never getting outsped too is also just cool. It's nice to know you're never gonna get outsped. And so if you're the type of player who wants to try to EV things, EV into attack and become a good sweeper, Baton Pass, there's a lot there's a lot of good things going for it. I think I'm willing to put it into A tier for the first time in any of my tier lists. Somebody, I know there's gonna be like 10 of you in the comments that are gonna like rejoice. Masquerain is honestly one of the better bug flying types because it has Intimidate. That just gives it the bulk that the rest could only dream of. Just because lowering an attack stat is just so good, and it still can like Quiver Dance and stuff. And it has like water coverage, which is fun too. Really, this thing is an Intimidate Shuffler for early game. That's all it really does. Pelipper is going into the A tier. We talked about Pelipper last week. You guys know I love Pelipper. And this Pokemon's good. It has stockpile, it has good defense, it's a good defensive Pokemon while still being able to do damage with stuff like Surf. It has Shockwave to beat other flying, and more specifically water types. Ice Beam is great, you know, stockpile, Roost. You can stockpile and Roost to heal up and still keep your defense boosts and just be a crazy wall. It even gets Drizzle later on too, which honestly, I mean, if we're talking Drizzle Pelipper, it goes S tier because Rain Teams are broken. But even non-Drizzle like Keen Eye Pelipper is still just really good. It gets like Tailwind, so it can enable your team. It's super good. Swellow's going S tier. Guts Swallow is crazy. Guts Swallow Facade, Stab Facade, that speed, you're pretty much not getting outsped by anything. Even in like late generations, you're still gonna get like with power creep, and you know it's what is it like 80 attack or something. doesn't look too special, but just Guts is a free choice band. It's a free choice band on Stab Facade, and then you can also roost up the damage you've taken. And then even like it gets like Heat Wave and Boom Burst in like Gen 6 and stuff, so it can go special if you wanted to. Like 85 attack. You're not making this thing special, and I was like, I'm just kidding. But 85 attack with a choice band and Stab Facade, Stab Guts Facade. It's tried and true. It's like the Nuzlocke mascot, I want to call it, honestly. is Guts Facade Pokemon. Beautyfly, it's like Mothim, like everything else is better. Every other bug and flying type is better than it. Skarmory, kind of like, just like Corviknight, easy S tier. Massive defense stat. You get Roost, it's a crazy set of Pokemon. It has like spikes too, which is really cool. To just add more damage to your team. And you can like, even with like Spikes, Whirlwind, Toxic, be a crazy stupid wall that most, like, you have to take it to the wrong fight for it to ever be in danger. You have to take it to a fire gym or electric gym for it to ever be in danger. This thing is just like it's a free switch in like 99.7 times, 7% of the time. And the other, I guess, like, these two are like, what is it, yin and yang, I guess, in Gen 2. You have the crazy defensive wall and the crazy special wall. Mantine's not bad either as a wall, and water flying defensive typing is good. Again, just don't take it to electric types. Like, it's pretty clear. It's rare that you run into something with random shockwave coverage, and if so, you should know. You could just do your research and know about it. Both of its abilities are fantastic. Water Absorb is great for defensive Pokemon. Swift Swim is a great way to turn this thing pretty offensive, and just pairs super well on rain teams. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but it doesn't really need to, and it's just a crazy wall. It's got things like it gets Roost in late generations. Until then, just give it like Leftovers, a berry. Give it like Resto Chesto or something. And Air Slash, Surf is fine coverage, and you get like Icy Wind or Ice Beam. Icy Wind is great support. Ice Beam is great support. It even gets things like Rock Tomb for just like other random support. Like just random support moves. Very nice defensive Pokemon going in A tier. Delibird is like the actual literal worst Pokemon ever. Literally. Its signature move can heal your opponent. Like, if you're going to use Delibird, you might as well go all in and use Present because it's funny. And just gamble. It's horrible. Gligar is not great either. Everything about Gliscor does not apply to Gligar. Even unless you have like Eviolite, but that, if we're talking Eviolite Gligar, that's still kind of taken into consideration with Gliscor. This is Gen 3, 2, and 1. The Gen 2 and 3 Gligar, whose attack stat doesn't, even with like Swords Dance, your Earthquakes are not hitting hard, and your level up moveset is even worse. And you don't have like Roost for recovery. No, it's pretty rough. It still has really cool niche typing, but it's pretty rough. Murkrow, kind of the same thing. Dark Flying is just like without. This isn't even Prankster Murkrow yet. This is Gen 3, Gen 2 and 3 Murkrow, and without Prankster, there's really just nothing going for you. You're super frail. You're not hitting hard. Typing is like cool, but yeah. I mean, you still have Super Luck actually. Maybe I'll be willing to throw a B actually. I changed my mind. Super Luck is cool. You still have Super Luck like 9. Don't you still have Night Slash? And its special attack is fine. So you can use the special because Dark is special. Yeah, never mind. I take it back. I'll put a B. Super Luck Night Slash is cool. Super Luck in general is just cool. Yanma is one of the worst Pokemon ever created. I don't care about Speed Boost. Doesn't get Baton Pass. It's the only thing that can maybe save it. If it gets Baton Pass, it is so frail. It is so weak too. And like Bug Fly, yeah. If it doesn't get Baton Pass, I'm gonna cry. It has to be by level up too. Nope, no Baton Pass by level up, therefore it is Doo-Doo. The Doo-Doo tier. Jumpluff is a super fast support Pokemon. You just like fast Sleep Powder. And that's kind of it. That's kind of all you do. You just put things, you put things to sleep with Sleep Powder. You have like Leech Seed. and it's just pure support. You're not really ever going to do damage, but the supportive capabilities are there and are useful, and you usually get this thing really early. So I think B's fine. And if you have to do damage with it, like if it's your only grass type that you rely doing damage with, you can do like Sunny Day Solar Beam because it has chlorophyll. I mean, it's already so fast, but you could, I guess you can do that. But as a support Pokemon, it's definitely nothing to shrug off. Xatu doesn't have anything special. It does. Its stats are kind of underwhelming. Move pool, I mean, I just don't love psychic flying types. I feel like it's kind of redundant. Honestly, like, flying already hits fighting. Psychic only helps you hit poison. And that's just not that big of a deal, really. So I'm going to throw it in the C tier. Togetic. This is Gen 3, Gen 2 Togetic. It's not as good of a support. It's only a support Pokemon. It has things like Encore. It has... I mean, Metronome. It has a very limited move pool, but Encore is still good for something. Bulky Encore too. You can just switch into the right move, and Encore something, and then bring in a teammate that can set up or just be in a good spot. You also do have Serene Grace in Gen 3. You're not really going to use it in Gen 3, honestly. So I don't feel like talking about abilities is not that worth it. So maybe I will pull Murkrow down too. They need their abilities. They need their abilities to be really anything useful. Crobat is going S tier. This is a early game carry Pokemon. You can have a level 23. You can have a Crobat at level 23. Once your Golbat evolves to level 22, just run around forever, make it happy, and then evolve it level 23. Crazy carry, very good bulk fat point in the game. Really great damage for level 23, and it's super fast. And this thing can do a lot. It gets things like Taunt, it can learn like Giga Drain and random coverage moves, also just like Stab, Aerial Ace, and Fly, and like Sludge Bomb or Cross Poison. It's gonna do great damage for you. It's all reliable, but very good. It's like, I always call like B tier Pokemon all reliable. Crobat's like all reliable, but it's like the old reliable that your grandpa's passed down to you for like, it's been like passed down through the eldest son generation to generation. It's just like, take this with you. It's a little worn. There's little things that get a little bit better than it, but it's still great. Ledian's actually not E tier. It's C tier because it gets both screens very early, and it has good special defense. I'll give it that. For early game screen setter, that's nice. And that's all it does. You switch it out immediately after that. You set your screens up, switch it out, bring it. It's an enabler Pokemon, so it goes into C. It gets both screens at like level 24 or 25, and that's good. Noctowl, it has Identity Crisis. This thing like wants to be a psychic type, and before Gen 4, where you finally get special flying type attacks, which really are not that good, outside of like Chatter from Chatot or so, it just doesn't. It's always just worse. There's always just better flying types to pick. You go for a physical flying type. It's not even like super bulky. Hypnosis is inconsistent. It's going into C. Dragonite's going A. I thought about S, but I think Salamence. It also has Dragon Dance, I guess. It can go into S tier too. I might as well. It's ridiculously strong. It gets extreme speed. It also gets Dragon Dance. Multi-skill later on is really, really good. Inner Focus not being able to flinch. I guess you don't get cheesed by Rock Slide. That's not that big of a deal. It's really just like multi-scale later gens, which might be hidden ability, but even without considering ability, it's still just like a 134 attack stat, Dragon Dance sweeper that learns every coverage move you want it to. Easily yes. Aerodactyl's going to A. It is super fast. Rock Slide. Stab is great. You can have it as soon as you. It's kind of inconsistent in the times you can have it. And a game like Kanto, like Fire Red or so, you're not gonna get it till the 6th, 7th gym. But it's really good against elite. Like Rock offensively is good against most Elite Fours, honestly. And pair with give it like Rock Slide, Aerial Ace, and Earthquake, and it's just a good sweeper. Gyarados is like the king of Nuzlocks. This thing is near perfect. Level 20 Intimidate, level 20 Water Flying type, crazy high attack stat, Dragon Dance. Yeah, let's just put it up here. It's going up here, okay? There's no question. There's no questioning Gyarados. Scyther, I think, is also going in A tier. It only gets better later generations when it gets Technician. You got like Technician Aerial Ace and Technician like Bug Bites, or even Technician Fury Cutter. You can like Swords Dance, Fury Cutter, Sweep, things like crazy. And it can get like Eviolite. There's actually reasons to not evolve your Scyther. I mean, if you don't have Trait Evolution, you can't get a Scizor. Or even if you do, I guess. Even if you have access to Trait Evolutions, there's still sometimes reasons to keep a Scyther. You can give it like Eviolite, or even just keep it for the speed and just go for like a flying type sweeper. It's a really good sweeper, like Swords Dance and Technician. I want to put Dodrio, featuring Wizard, the dog. I want to put Dodrio in A tier just because Drill Peck and Tri-Attack are such good stab early on. In later games, later gens, Gen 4, Tri-Attack becomes special, but still, Drill Peck is the best physical flying move until Brave Bird, which is late, and you get Drill Peck pretty early. So, and even just give it like Return. It's got a good attack stat, good speed, just good offensive flying type. Farfetch'd, I'm putting it in C tier. I'm not gonna put it in the E tier. I think it deserves to be at least C with Swords Dance and the stick. What is it? The item name keeps switching around, but it's like the stick or something. Raising your critical hit and going for like slash. Swords Dance almost always critting slashes are hilarious. It can actually blow things up. It's a bit of a meme, but it's actually like a stronger meme than like any of these E tiers or something. So I put it in C. Golbat this is Gen 2, or no, this is Gen 1 technically Golbat, or if you're playing like Fire Red Leaf Green where you can't get Crobat, it is still pretty decently useful early game, but it just has a steep drop off. And usually every other flying type is better, like going for like a Pidgeot or something is usually better at that point, and just any other flying type is going to replace it. Poison, the extra poison typing is not useful enough to try to keep this thing afloat. Fearo's going in B tier because it evolves early. A level 20 evolution is really good, just because you're gonna have like the step up on anything power wise for at least a little bit of the early game. So it's gonna be a nice early game carry Pokemon. It does get Drill Peck later on. Bigger move is kind of funny. Yeah, just level 20 evolutions are always useful. Pidgeot is C tier though because it evolves too late. I don't know why it evolves like a starter. It evolves like level 30 or something. And then its stats it's super weak. It's like trying to be kind of bulky, but it's not bulky at all. This thing is just like really weird Gen 1 stat layout that doesn't make sense, and they never really buffed it. And so it's as cool as much as I love its design, it's always just a very underwhelming Pokemon. It's still an early game bird, which is okay, but I think it's the worst early game bird by far. Butterfree, Compound Eyes, Sleep Powder is at least B. Later on, it can like Quiver Dance and try to sweep. Early Confusion's also nice, but really using this thing for the Compound Eyes Sleep Powder, which is super useful. So I'm gonna put it B. I don't know if I can put it A tier, just because at that point you kind of have to. Later on in the game, if you're gonna keep a Sleep Powder Pokemon, you gotta go for something more reliable, like a bulkier Grass type, or maybe a Spore Pokemon or something else. You know, it does drop off eventually. And then Charizard, the original Flying, I'll put it in A. It is a good sweeper. Fire type sweepers or offensive fire types are always good. It's not great in like Kanto against the gyms, but you get it in a lot of games. Charizard's in like almost every single game, and you can use it as in a Nuzlocke for a ton of games too. Like Kalos, and yeah, there's a lot of examples, and it's It's a good fire. It's a good offensive fire type that doesn't have to worry about like ground weakness. But you're still probably not gonna fight a ground type because like most ground types are like a Geodude or have rock coverage, which is gonna smack you. But still, it's a good offensive fire type, and there's nothing wrong with that. And okay, now for the Phoenix tier, we've already crowned Gyarados. Just got that out of the way. I've got a couple other Pokemon I want to throw up here. Gliscor and Togekiss, I think, are also just in the same realm of Gyarados, of just like free wins when you get them. When you get them, your run is pretty much free, unless you lose them in a tragic accident. Not much is gonna stop these guys. But I want to put something else in this tier because I've already talked about these in other videos. In the water one, I put Gyarados up here. In the ground one, Gliscor came up here. Fairy already featured Togekiss, so I want to feature a new one from flying type tier, or from the flying type list, and I am going to put Swellow up there for that. I think from early game guts on Tailo. Tailo gets wing attack really early, which 60 base power on a choice, basically choice banded. You basically have a free choice band the entire game. And this is probably the best Guts user out of. I think this is by far the best Guts user we've seen in any game so far. Like Obstagoon is the only one I could think that's also pretty close to that. But yeah, basically a choice band on your wing attacks as a Tailo. You evolve early, you get Stab Facade, and then you also have Roost that you can heal up on, you know, on the one switch in or at the right moment to keep your sweep up too, because you are taking like the burn chip damage or the poison chip damage, but just as a sweeper, a free choice band on this thing is just ridiculous. And you can also put a choice band on it and have a double choice band. Just go get it poisoned. The way you use Guts is there's always the Wurmples, there's always the Weedles, there's always an Ekans, there's always some kind of poison type or some way to get poisoned. You just go in the wild, get poisoned, use a bunch of potions so you don't die, go up to the gym or whatever boss fight you need to fight, use potions so you're at full health, and then you just have a free choice band. And then you can also equip a choice band or like Silk Scarf and just click Facade over and over again and win for free. It's a try and true strategy, and I think it needs to be crowned, so I'm putting it up here. And for the end of the video, let's talk about some of the new flying types here. I actually have them all written down, so I can just easily type them out instead of painfully scrolling through here. So the first one we talk about is Squawkbilly. This can have Intimidate. All 4 colors can have Intimidate. The only thing that changes between the colors is their hit ability, which you're not really going to worry about for Nuzlocke, even though you can get like ability patches really just super late game in Scarlet and Violet. You're really looking at Intimidate. The fact that these things can have Intimidate makes them pretty good, in my opinion. And then stat-wise, they're not too slow for early game birds. 92 speed is great. They also don't evolve, so you're running with this 96, 92 offensive stats from the get-go, which is nice. So I think these things are pretty solid. They can also get Parting Shot by egg moves, and the way egg moves have changed, you can actually use egg moves in a Nuzlocke because you don't have to breed. You have to breed to pass the move down. You just go into a picnic with a mirror herb, which you can buy in like the earlier segment, like you can buy within the first quarter of the game or so, and then you just have those 2 Pokemon sit in the picnic, and it almost immediately learns the move. So you can have Parting Shot or super early too, which is crazy. Let's see, who's next? Kilowattrel, I think, is good. It's probably the best electric flying type we've seen so far. Can have Volt Absorb, which is just nice. Always having an immunity that also heals is always nice. So you have the immunity to ground, you have the immunity to electric, you get Volt Switch and Tailwind by level up. So you are very nice. You're a very nice pivoting Pokemon. Wind Power is not awful. I think Volt Absorb is definitely better. It's just like you Tailwind and then you have Charge for a turn. It powers up the next electric type move you use, but it only works once. It only works the next turn, so you have to click Thunderbolt or Volt Switch immediately. But like, it's still good. And stat wise, it's very fast. And 105 special attack is great. It's great. And level 25 evolution, yeah, this thing's great. Next one up is Bombardier. I don't think this is a very good Pokemon. I think Kilowattrel's like somewhere like A tier. Squawkbilly is maybe like a B tier. Maybe A tier because of Intimidate. I think Bombardier doesn't have anything going for it. Big Pecs, really not that big of a deal. Kenai, really not that big of a deal. Even with the hidden ability, Rocky Payload, gives you rock type stab. It's just not that good of an offensive Pokemon. I mean, it's 82 speed. It's bulkier than it is fast. 82 speed. I mean, in this game with just like fast Pokemon, you know, you want to be like 90 or so to be fast. You can get the Choice Scarf, I guess, but even still, 103 attack stats fine. You know, moves like Sucker Punch, Rock Slide, Aerial Ace, or Brave Bird. You know, Hone Claw's Rock Slide is cool. You get Knockoff. You get Parting Shot ridiculously late. I think like a C or maybe B. You know, I could see B, I guess. It's a somewhat underwhelming Pokemon. Next is Flamigo, I think is the next flying type, and this thing has Scrappy. Flamigo, not Talonflame. Flamigo, literally just Flamingo Pokemon. Scrapping fighting types are great. And Tangle Feet, Raise Your Evasion, that's whatever. Ideally you get one with Scrappy. And Scrappy fighting types, I mean flying and fighting, you're hitting pretty much everything. You're hitting everything for neutral at least. And then you also get cool moves like Wide Guard's only gonna help you in like 1 or 2 fights that are double battles, so that's whatever. You get Throat Chop, so even without Scrappy, you can still like hit Ghost super effectively. And just like clicking, like you get Roost too. You can run like Wing Attack, Double Kick for a while, which is fine. You get like Close Combat via TM later. You can get like Swords Dance and Brave Bird by TM. Yeah, you're gonna get all the TMs you want. And this thing is stat wise, it's like 90 speed, 115 attack. Yeah, 90 speed, 115 attack. This is a great super early game Pokemon too. You can get it really, really early in the game. I think it's like B or A. Probably the best. I think Kilowattro's the best flying type so far, but Flamigo's also good. And the last flying type introduced in this game is Iron Jugulis, and all the Paradox Pokemon for a Nuzlocke of the game really are only good against the final fight, the final story boss, and I guess if you want to do any post-game stuff, maybe you could delay the Elite Four up until this point. So like depending on your rules and depending on how you want to play, you could theoretically use the Paradox Pokemon, and I think it's good. It's fat. I mean, it's a fast special attacking Dark type sweeper. 108 speed, 122 special attack is great. Give it like Choice Specs or Wise Glasses or something. It can get like Tailwind and Snarl for good support. It gets like Knockoff, and then you just basically click. You can get like booster. You booster energy your special attack. You could also you could run booster energy too, and then you just click like Air Slash and Dark Pulse forever. Yeah, like I was playing it with it in a more casual playthrough, but I still used it when I rematched all the gyms, and I think I was using like Wise Glasses, Black Glasses, Dark Pulse, Snarl, Air Slash, and Tailwind. You just kind of start sweeping some things, and you Tailwind for your team when you are not as useful. So I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, but I don't know if Paradox Pokemon should be allowed in Nuzlocks, how you would use them in Nuzlocks. But if you did, I think it was good, so I put it like A-ish tier. And that's gonna do it for the video, guys. Who is your favorite flying type Pokemon? What is your favorite one to use? What's your favorite one by design? Tell me any of them in the comments below. And next week we will finish off this series with the normal type, and I'm gonna have to think about what other videos to make for you guys. So any other video suggestions you have for me, let me know in the comments. What else do you want to see? I'll probably try to make some Scarlet Violet Nuzlocke-ish content, whether it's guides, whether it's thoughts, rule sets, something like that. And yeah, I think my favorite flying type is, I love Alteria's design. I think the Cloud Wings is just so cool. This is definitely one of my favorites. I also really like Swellow. This was one of my first Pokemon as a kid. When I first played Pokemon, I think those two are probably my two favorites. Let me know who your favorites are in the comments below. Let me know what kind of video you guys want to see, and please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help me out. The more I grow this channel, the more success I get from this, the more I'm going to put back into it. The more videos I'm going to make, the more, I'm going to upgrade my equipment. The more I'm going to feed back into the videos. So the more success I get, the more I'm going to push back and put that success into the videos to make better content for you guys. So please do consider subscribing to the video, like if you enjoyed the video at all. And stay tuned for next week. We're going to do normal and finish up the series. Thank you guys. Peace.